Okay, so we are going to talk about, this is the first thing I want to talk about is the project paper. And Zachary asked a really good question, which was, when is this due? Because if you're having problems getting interviews or things like that, I'm going to be really flexible. You just basically need to get it turned in before the final. I think would probably be the safest thing.
So wait, I already have a job, so.
Yeah, no, but we're talking, so no, this is the project term paper. So we're talking about, so the things that you need to cover in the paper are, you need to say the job description, what you're, this is the job that you're doing the research on. So it may not be the job you have now, but the job you may want to get, or maybe want to end up doing. So general career path, like what's your first, like if you're going to own a restaurant, maybe you start out as a server or a dishwasher, and then you learn all the jobs. And once you get all the jobs, and maybe they make you a manager or general manager or whatever, and then once you become a general manager and you save some money, and maybe you sell a restaurant, maybe you open your own, get somebody to loan you money, whatever. So like if you wanted to own a restaurant, you would talk about a career path, like, okay, this is
Maybe
what
I
I'm gonna
should have picked dishwasher for my career.
So
Yeah, I started out as a dishwasher, it isn't that bad.
so there, I talked to this guy who was like a cook up at Snowbird, and there was a waiter up there that would make like $200,000 a year. Not at Snowbird. He was up in Park City someplace, but he would make a lot of money. And this guy, I guess, made quite a bit of money too, as just during the winter up there. So I don't know if you're washing really expensive dishes, maybe.
No, I work at CPK, so it's like crap.
Yeah. So, but so take a look at other possible, like we're talking about, and most of you should have already done research because it's supposed to be due in a week. But make sure you cover these things. General education experience. I mean, what kind of education do you need? Average salary, career outlook, and then the bio of someone in the profession. That's either through your interview, or if you, like with Zachary, we're having a hard time finding somebody. So if you can find somebody who's a operations manager, I mean, you could do something like Lee Iacocca. Do you know who Lee Iacocca is?
Do what?
Lee Iacocca. He was like the CEO of GE or Ford or something. Well, he may have been GE and Ford, but he worked at both those places. So you could possibly do something like that if you can't get hold of. So pros and cons. This is one of the things that I think is most important, is the pros and cons of whatever profession you want to go into. So I want to see the pros and the cons. Like, what are the good things about it? What are the bad things about it?
So my career path is probably Fox News.
Fox News. What are the pros about it? What are the cons? So
Are you wanting this in like a list format, or you want us to like write it out in paragraphs?
either way, whatever you think suits it better. Because I have seen it both ways where they've got a list, and either way, I just want you to kind of cover every one of these points. So the one thing is write a minimum of 5 pages. If you can get it done in less than 5 pages, I'm not worried so much about it. So there, double space one, that doesn't not matter to me. What I want you to do is cover those things, and as long as it looks like you've done the research, I'm going to be good. So the one of the important things, and we talked about this before, and I want to show this again, is in Microsoft Word. Oh, sorry, Cole.
Question: can we just turn in a piece of paper, because my actually, site that I have to turn in sometimes doesn't on my laptop. Just my laptop is selfish.
Yeah, we can talk about it. Melissa, how are you doing? Okay, so we're talking about the term paper. So you need to cover all of these topics. You need to cover the job description, general career path. Actually, I should be just a little bit nicer and make this a little bit bigger for everybody. So we can bigger. So cover these things: the job description, career path, general education, average salary, career outlook, bio of someone in the profession, pros and cons, like I say, and then your fit. Like, how do you think you will fit in this career? So, or what you think, and like every semester I get one student, or I get some of the students that say, you know, this is definitely something I want to do. I really like this. I have a lot of hope and I'm excited about this. And then I've got other people that just say, there's no way I want to do this job. I'm glad I did this little research because I don't want to have that lifestyle. Like, for instance, it sounds really cool to be an architect, right?
No. No.
Well, here's Melissa. No, I don't want to be an architect.
Well,
But you know, if you were like Frank Lloyd Wright and you could design these really cool buildings and everything. But one of the things I know, if you were going to school as an architect, like up at the U, so I had a friend who graduated and then taught up at the U for a while. He's like, during his graduate time, and maybe even before, even undergraduate, they would sleep up at the school to try to get their assignments done. Because it was just, they had to do so much work. And then it doesn't really get any better when you get out in the workforce.
yeah.
It's just all of these hardcore projects. And so that's one of the things, like my daughter's like, I want to be an architect. I'm like, no, you don't. And my son had a friend that was going through the architecture program up there. And so I had her talk to my daughter, and well, she had talked to my daughter about it. And I'm like, this is not, I just know your personality. It's not going to work out. But it was kind of romantic for her to talk about, because she's an artist. And so she wants to design things. So these are the types of things that you need to think about as you're looking at this. So there's that. And then up here, this is one of the critical things. I'm usually pretty lenient with everything, but this is one of the things what you will get docked. If you do not have 7 sources, I will dock you. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing about sources.
Like sources like you write down the according to.
Well, like the sources, like if you went to a website and did the research, I want to know that. If you did an interview with someone, I want you to put that in here. And then I'm going to show you. So there is a references tab in Word. Now, all of you should have access to Word.
I have got
Access
Google
to
Docs.
this.
In Word. Yeah, sorry.
I
For-
got Docs, I don't have Word.
So, and we can look at the one for docs too. But we can check out the online thing, but I'm going to show you here first, and then we'll look at. So here we've got managed sources. Hopefully I've got some. Oh, great. I do have some in here. And maybe this is actually this is probably for this paper. Oh no, these are mine. I've had these before. So all of these I have actually put in the past. And so these are just there for me. Anytime I'm writing a paper or something, I can use these. And so here, this is actually the teacher notes that they give me for the chapter we're going to discuss today. But let's just say this is my paper, I'm going to pretend, and I want to put in, like I copied this from an article and I want to put it in there as a reference. I'm like, okay, this is a really cool story. I'm going to put this in here. So up here, I click on insert citation. Come on. So hold on, I've got to move, when I go into manage sources, if you don't have one in here. So if you don't have one in here, it shows you there, because I don't have any set up for this paper. So I'm going to add a new source, and in here, it's got this little drop down, and it shows you all the different types of sources. So you've got book section, article, report, website, and it has interview. So I can click on interview, and these are the things that you need to write down when you're doing your interview. So interviewee, who did you talk to? What was their title? The interviewer, which is you, the year, the month, and the date. So these are the required fields for APA. Now you can also do this where you can click show bibliography, and there's a lot more fields that you can put in if you want to add something in. Like you can put the city in where you did it if you wanted to, if there was a translator. So this is for the interview. You can put all, but this is actually for everything. If you went to a performance and you want to put that in there. So once again, you can cut these down. So the theater, you can put all kinds of things in here.
So if I already did an interview,
Yeah, then you would just create your bibliography or your citation for this. So I'm going to go in here. I already have all these sources, and just for fun, I am going to copy these into my list.
so I was a little confused about the interview.
Okay.
So I just talked to this guy who owns, or supposedly owns, Papa John's, and I was like, okay, so what do you do? He told me all the things.
Okay.
So
So he may be a franchise owner. Is he a franchise owner, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So,
Like with that kind of thing count.
oh yeah, totally. Yeah, that's good. So I've added these in. So over here on the current list is what I'm doing. So I'm going to close this. And so now when I go to add the citation, I'm going to click insert citation, and it's showing me all these different ones. So I'm going to do the Wall Street Journal here, and it will just put the citation in like that. Now there's all these different types. And so I actually don't care what style it is. So here's all these. So APA and MLA are the most popular. So if I can click on MLA, and you can see that it changed the way the citation looks. So the coolest thing about this, though, this is where your life is just so much easier. So down at the bottom where you want to put references. So here down at the bottom, I'm going to come down to the bottom of this, and I'm just going to hit it, and then I'm going to say it says bibliography. And then it gives me a couple of options there. It says bibliography, references, or works cited, depending on. So I would like you to use references or works cited, because that's normally what you do in college papers. So I'm going to click on works cited, and it automatically creates this page for me. Now, because this is double space, I can go over here to the home, and right here, I can change the spacing to double space, and it will change it to double space for me.
Actually, in my high school, they made me do that as well.
Yeah, so this is so easy to do citations. So my son started college this semester, and I showed him this, and he's like, why would anybody use anything else? Well, sometimes if you don't have access to Word, because where my son's going to college, they don't have Office 365, which I will show you the online version here pretty quick. But say they don't have Office 365, and so they're doing all their stuff just like Jonah in Google Docs. So there are other tools out there that you can do citations with. So one of them is, let's see.
Not Utah State does 360.
Yes, they do. Yep. Let's see.
about that at the University of Vienna.
So I'm just going to do a Google search here.
So I'll probably-
Okay, so there is citation machine. Is this an ad? It's not even an ad. It's just, we'll open these. And then there's Easy Bib, which is another one. Here's this free citation machine. So Cite for Me. So there are all these sites that will help you with there are a lot of ads on the citation machine, and I think the same thing with Easy Bib. There are lots of ads. These look really close.
Well, as long as it doesn't download a virus, it's fine.
Yeah, so you can sign up for this. You can pay for the one thing that I like about this, and I'm not sure which ones keep your information for free. So like when you put the citations in, they'll stay up there and you can access those whenever you need them. So here is the citation generator. So sadly, they're getting rid of Google for Salt Lake Community College.
So what does that mean? We can't do anything like connected to Google.
Well, what's going to happen is everyone's just going to have to use their personal Google stuff.
Oh.
So that's how it's changing for us. So we'll go into Google Drive here. We'll
How do you keep-
So here's the sheet that I have that reminds me of what we need to talk about in the beginning of class. We've actually gotten rid of this. I can signing up for Pearson. Can actually take that out. Okay, so there is some tools here for citations. So here we've got MLA. They do the same thing. They've just got a couple here. So let's do APA, and then you can click Add Citation. Here, let's go through this. We're going to do through a website. And then it will have the information that you need there. Let's see, just for fun, we'll do Jack. What we'll do. Let's do Clayton Christensen because I like this. I like him. Oh man, I am struggling here. It wants a URL because we accessed it through. I'm just gonna say print. I guess we have to do it now. We're committed. I'm just gonna do this. So click Add Citation. So now here they've got this set up. So and then I can just click Cite and it will put that information into my document right there. It will keep it. And so they're doing oh, see, I've got some bibliography tools. Oh, I've got those in there. So if we go down here, you can click insert references and it will do the same thing. It will drop that in there for you.
This is wonderful.
Yeah. And so it was such a stress for me in high school and college creating these things. This is way before Google. So, and then when I,
Copy paste the website, like the URL in the website,
oh, okay, yeah.
so I never do this ever.
So, yeah, you're all lucky because the internet was not around. Now, when I did my master's program 10 years ago, I was still old school and I was writing my first paper and I was doing it through Western Governors. And so the way Western Governors does it, if you write a paper, then you may have 5 or 10 sections in the paper. And so they'll grade each section individually. So, but it's just a pass or fail. So you either pass, like they'll have a pass or like better than average, that's kind of the grade you get, but just passing is fine. But then it would say lower, it said, or they would say something like, oh, not up to competency. And so I would have to write, but you wouldn't have to write the whole paper, just these certain sections. Well, the first paper I did, it came back like 4 or 5 times on the bibliography. Like I would do it, I would submit it to them, they'd say, oh, it's still not good enough. So, I mean, I was stressing out about it. My brother was dating this girl at the time, and she's like, oh, you've got to learn how to do the thing in Word. Showed me how to do the thing in Word. I'm like, oh. And I never, ever got dinged on it again, ever. They never said I had to redo once I started using these tools. So.
No copy paste the website.
Well, you could copy paste the website, but just like in here, you can just copy and paste it into the reference and set everything up. They're asking you the questions for the information that you need for those citations. So, yeah, so there's lots of ways to do it, but this is the reason I want you to have 7 sources, because I want you to use one of these tools. I don't care what tool you use, but I want you to use one of these tools so you can do that. Because this is not the only class that you will write a paper in college.
No, I actually do a communications 1010, you have to do speeches.
Yeah, so speeches is good, but you're gonna have to write it. But they're not asking you for reference unless you have to turn in your speech.
I do.
Yeah, and if you have to turn them in, then you're gonna have to use references. And this hopefully you understand this part, and it,
I actually got marked down for having only 2 of them.
yeah. So so there's lots of places to research too. Like that's one of the. So I'll show you another advantage to the Word version. So the Word version has on the references, they have a researcher part. So here on the researcher part, you can just type in something. So what is something? This is just dumb, but did you know that we have royalty in America? There shouldn't be any royalty in America. There's no American royalty, but we do. So like in England, there's a king and a queen.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They don't do anything. They have like Prince Harry and that whole situation, whatever. They're not adding anything to the world. They dress up, put medals on their shirts, and when they get married, everybody shows up.
Yep.
And so I didn't think we had a king and a queen of America, but I was wrong. Because the Queen of America just got married. So here we have, so you just do these things right here. You look, and wherever it's got a plus, just added Paris Hilton to my citation. So if I go look on managed sources now, hold on. Maybe I have to go all the way here. Come on, help me out here, Google. Oh, sorry. I'm in my bibliography section, and so it's struggling on what to do. So this is not, so maybe you can just do and then you click like this. It inserts the citation here. I'm going to change it to APA. So it inserts this, and then if you go look to manage sources, it has, so here is, and then we're going, so I'm clicking on this. This is one I just did. I'm going to click edit, and it filled in all of show all the bibliography fields. So it filled out a bunch of the bibliography fields for me. Year, access, URL. It did all this for me. So see, there's books. If you want a books, Paris Hilton has a biography. I guess if you're Queen of America, you better have a biography when you're like 30 years old. Wow. I don't know.
25, mostly 26.
It's true. Well, maybe she's just the Princess of America. So let's see how old, since we're going off on this tangent here. Old is Paris? She's 40 years old. No way.
No way. Are you kidding?
This can't be.
Yeah, I'm going, she can't be in her 20s because she's been around doing dumb things for a long time, at least 20 years. She was what?
Oh, her husband, Carter Rail, has a love child. That's interesting.
So, well, she is competing with the Kardashian girls to be the Queen of America.
It has her shoe size on there. That is hilarious.
Yes, there we go. That is shoe size 11. She's got some huge feet. Come on, those are big feet.
I love it so much.
So funny. So, yeah, so you can, and some of these other sites, EasyBib and those other ones, I think they have some tools like that too. So you can just copy the citation from the websites. So I'm just showing you I'm showing these things. Melissa's having a good time with the shoe size.
That's just so great.
I'm going to set up my own wiki page for myself, and I'm going to put shoe size on there. So I'm going to put the shoe size depending on what brand of shoes it is. My Nike shoe size is 12.
That is beautiful.
You know, but if I'm going to wear, and I can't even wear Converse anymore because they're so skinny. My feet are so fat that they were so wide. My wife calls them caveman feet. They're so wide they won't fit in the shoes. And so if I want a pair of Converse, I'm gonna have to wear size like 14 to get my foot in that because they're just so thin.
Yep.
So yeah.
Love it. So great.
So we're total tangent there. So that's what so this I think is an important skill to learn early on in college to understand how to do citations. Because if you don't cite some work, that's one of the easiest ways to get kicked out of school, is if you turn in work that you say is your own, and it's really easy to catch now. So much software out there will catch you stealing work. But there's no reason to steal work. I mean, seriously, you can write, I've wrote 50-page papers with like, and more than half of it was just work that I'd copied from somebody else. I would paste the thing. This is how you do a 50-page paper. You copy in like some big quotation and then you talk about it. So like half of your paper is quotations, and then you're just discussing as you just discuss it.
Didn't you get thrown in jail for that as well?
Well, this is why you can cite, because all I have to do is make citations and say, hey, this is where I got this. And as long as I give credit to them, everything is good. Everything's golden. So all you have to do is give them credit. You just say, hey, I got this from, I got this from Clayton Christensen. I got this idea from Clayton Christensen. He's right here. This is where I think he's right. This is where I think he's wrong. And you can talk about it. It becomes an easy situation. So as long as you're putting stuff in there, just give them credit. As long as you give people credit, there's no problem.
Just like that episode of Family Guy where Peter says Luke Perry is gay. That was just like, I was laughing, like, where'd you get that information?
Yeah, right. Where do you, and that's the other thing is, if as long as you have some weird information there, everybody will believe it. You can find anything out there. Somebody said something out there, and as long as you cite it, then everybody's like, no problem. So just learn how to cite stuff. It will keep you out of trouble. And if you use these tools, it will just make everything easy. Yeah.
I never cited the thing before.
Yeah, you need to cite stuff, because now that I've been an instructor for a long time, 6 years, I've seen, and so I know what level college students write at. Like a lot of times I can just tell right away that it's copied. I'm like, okay, you cannot write like this. This is like a professional writer. And so don't do it because it's easy to see.
Yeah.
So now this is now we're going to talk about fun stuff. Talk about money today. So everybody pay attention. So, and we have to come up with, instead of calling it money, we're going to call it accounting and financial statements.
Oh, great.
So
Do I get to take my piece of the pie of California pizza now?
yes. So California, and since you're talking about California pizza, we'll look that up. We'll look to see, because I bet they're publicly traded. And so if they're publicly traded, you should be able to, we can all get a piece of California Pizza Kitchen equity. So you've heard of California Pizza Kitchen?
Before he's talked about it, I never.
Really? Oh man, they've got good pizza.
You need to go there.
You need to go try it out.
Sure.
Heard of San Francisco pizza.
San Francisco pizza's around too, but California Pizza Kitchen is usually in a mall.
Oh, okay. That.
So if you don't go to malls, you may not have seen a California Pizza Kitchen. Because I don't know if I've ever seen one outside of the mall. Yeah, they're usually in the malls. Yeah. So it says, what is accounting? And then financial statements. So these are the 3 financial statements that companies, publicly traded companies, have to produce these every year, these financial statements. So, and then there's this thing called the generally accepted accounting principles. They call it GAAP. So publicly traded companies abide by a set of rules on how they do their accounting, how they tell people about the money that they're making and what they're doing with that money. So that's what GAAP is when you heard about GAAP. So what is accounting? So what is accounting? So how can we define this?
Accounting is taxes and
What does it have to do with? What does accounting have to do with?
financial situation.
Financial situation, money,
Yeah.
come on, it's money. So when they talk about accounting, we're talking about money, right? Either money or stuff we can turn into money. So when they say financial statements, which you just said, which is perfect, but really the root of that is money.
Does Bitcoin count?
Bitcoin does count as money. This is a good question. What is money?
Pesos, euros?
Well, right, but what classifies money?
Value. Value of the,
Think about what is money.
The numerical value of something?
Yeah, but like this is worth something. It's got a value, but is it money?
no,
So actually let's hop out of this and let's look to see what money is.
We know the good questions.
Well, they say in the Bible, and you hear people say this all the time, the money is the root of all evil. Have you heard that?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is not quoted correctly. It's the love of money is the root of all evil. So, what is money? So, Investopedia, yeah. Investopedia. I like their so money is a medium of exchange. So money is what we use to it, and so like the paper, like what's the difference between a $1 bill and a $100 bill? Is there a difference?
They actually use it like a bill.
Well, you're saying that, but why can we use a $100 bill? Like in essence, is there anything different between a $100 bill and a $1 bill? I mean, physically, not physically, there's not a difference. So where does the difference of the $100 bill versus the $1 bill, where does that reside?
It's value.
Yeah.
Where does the value, how does it get its value?
government,
Okay, the government, they print the money and the government tells us it's $100. But really, where does it get its value?
Humans save those from us.
From us. We believe, we have faith that $100 bill is worth $100.
Yeah.
And we've all agreed on that. Even though we didn't sign a contract or anything, we're all agreeing that it's $100. So here it says a socially accepted standard unit with which things are priced. So what it is we all agree on these things. The system is all built up to tell us what we're going to do with money. So this is what accounting is. The accounting keeps track of the value we believe things have. So it better not. Oh, dang. So accounting is, like Jonah said, is helping us keep track of the money, the financial stuff. And then bookkeeping is actually taking care of that. So we have managerial accounting. So this is where, if you're going to stick in business, you have to understand the difference between these two. There's managerial accounting and financial accounting. Managerial accounting helps like owners and managers run the business. Financial accounting is they are keeping track of what's happening with the money, and that's what they report to the public.
so I got a question about
Yeah.
the paper though, does it have to be 5 pages or?
No, it doesn't have to be 5 pages. It's a good question.
So then would accountants be like a form of like analytics or something then?
Well, so this is an interesting thing because you've got managerial accounts and you've got financial accounts. And so the financial accounts are doing more the managerial accounts are the ones that are probably doing more analysis. Well, they probably both do because the managerial accounts, they're doing analysis trying to figure out how to make the business better. The financial accounts are doing analysis to find out if the business is trying to lie about stuff. Because so there's two kinds of functions with that. So there's private accountants. So the private accountants, they work for the company. And then we've got public accountants, and they provide services to companies. So I've worked, what's funny is I worked for this company, and so they had accountants come in from, there's like 4 big accounting firms in the country. And so these guys came in and they were there working in our office, and all they were trying, they were really financial public accountants, and they were looking at our books because a company was trying to buy us. So anytime you work for a company and some accountants show up from a different, so if they show up from one of these public accounting firms, it's a good chance that somebody's trying to buy your business. Well, sometimes they're just trying to buy a piece. Like if you're looking for investors, they're trying to buy a piece of your business. But it will shake things up if those guys show up, almost always. So, and then there's not-for-profit accountants, government, nonprofit organizations such as the Red Cross. We talked about the Red Cross in here, didn't we?
Isn't someone buying a piece of your business good, or?
It could be. So the public accountants, they have to understand these generally accepted principles, and most accountants understand this. But if you're trying to be publicly traded or you're trying to sell stock or things like that, it becomes a lot more strict. If you're a private company, then things are a little bit looser. So
My dad was owning Merry Maids, and he had stocks in his business.
So if you have a private company like that, like the Merry Maids, you can have your own corporation with your own stock, but you don't have to sell it to anybody, and it's not publicly traded. So that type of thing, that's a different situation than if you like a publicly traded company, and we'll look at the California Pizza Kitchen to see if they're publicly traded. And they may be owned by a company that's publicly traded, because California Pizza Kitchen is a big organization. So here's this 6 steps of accounting process. The interesting thing, so with accounting, they have what they call journals that keep track of different things. So there's a general journal that keeps track of all this stuff. But then they have these sub journals that keep track of like how much cash do you have in your business. So they have a journal that keeps track of cash. And then they have a journal that keeps track of if you need to pay people. So like if you're having somebody come in and do work for you, you need to pay them. So there's a journal that keeps track of that. And then for the people that you do work for, they have an accounts receivable journal that they keep track of. There's actually more journals than that, but in each one of these journals, they have things called debits and credits. They call it the double entry system. And this, I can't remember if he was a monk. He was a Christian, either monk or priest, who came up with this debits and credit system, this accounting concept. And so he said, when you start this accounting process where you find out what you've got, you record stuff daily, all of this stuff, he said, before you do this accounting process, you need to have a prayer. That's he said, because I guess he was a priest. This is back in like 13 to 1400. So this is a little bit history about the debits and credits. So Luca Piccoli, who was and what's funny is one of the accounting teachers here at Slick does a video about accounting, and it's actually really popular. Lots of other people, it's got a ton of views, like 500,000 views or something like that. Yeah, because it's just, and he talks about liquid petroleum in that. So part of that process is just keeping track of this stuff. So here it is. You find the stuff that you need to keep track of. So here it talks about the double entry bookkeeping.
So what happens if you don't keep track? Will the government come after you if you don't keep track of anything?
Well, you may not have to keep track of stuff. You just, money comes in, money goes out. If you're not keeping track of stuff, the problem is if the government thinks you're lying about what you need to keep track of things to pay taxes and things like that. And so if the government thinks, or I should say, not the government, if the IRS thinks that you're not up to snuff, like, I'm driving a Ferrari, and I own a donut shop, and I'm just getting thousands of customers. They're just lined up outside. But then I report that I only made $20,000 last year. The government's going to get suspicious. So they're going to show up. And then if I have records that show that maybe I'm using my Ferrari as a delivery vehicle, and that's why I only made $20,000. But like there's rules about with the like if I buy the Ferrari as a delivery, take 1/10. Like, so with the Ferrari, if I bought the Ferrari and it's $250,000, then they're only going to let me take $25,000 a year as an expense towards that Ferrari. So these are the types that accountants understand better than I do, but here's the double entry. So here is, if we want a tire repair on our Ferrari, it's going to cost us, they say, oh no, this is revenue. So this is a company that does tire repair. So they do a tire repair for my Ferrari, and they're going to, revenue is so the revenue is $30, and so they're going to put the cash. So the revenue gets a $30 credit and the cash gets a $30 debit. So there's the double entries that show this. So, and then we talked about the ledgers. There's different ledgers. I call them journals, different types of journals. I should have said ledger and journal, or they call them journal entries in a ledger. So in each one of those journals, what they do is they don't want to put all the transactions in one place. So what they do is they have a general journal. And so like at the end of the month, all the entries in the cash journal, they'll just put, okay, in July, at the end of the month, we had, this much cash came in, this much cash went out, and there's journal entries, just like they call it the general ledger, that will just have, like for whatever accounting period is, they'll just stick in an entry for that month. So, and then here, one of the things is once you're keeping track of this, you need to like you were talking about, Zachary, you need to analyze the data to find out what kinds of information. And so they have these things called ratios that help businesses understand how well they're doing. But a lot of times the ratios are just a guess. Well, they tell you the ratios between numbers, but it may not give it may not help you understand what's going on. And so lots of times as you're analyzing a company, if you want to buy some stock, you look at what some of the ratios are for the companies in that field. Like if you're selling computers, you've got Dell, you've got Apple, you've got HP, all these, or whoever owns HP, you've got Asus, all these companies. And so you can look at the ratios of those companies to see if the ratios are similar. And if the ratios are way off on one, it's either really good for the company or really bad for the company. So it's hard. So those are the types of things we look at. So now here, we should go back one. So they've got, oh no, this is just an accounting equation. So they have a balance sheet. And so what the balance sheet does is shows what your assets are, what your liabilities are, and what is your owner's equity. So let's see, what is an asset?
An asset is something that you own that could be used for liability, am I right?
Well, so the asset, which is close, you could do that if you wanted to. You can sell your car and pay off your debt. So liability. So what is liabilities? They say liabilities, but what they really mean is who do you owe money to?
Like I owe money to Chase my credit card and I just paid it off.
Yeah, so it's a liability. It's interesting. There's a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad by a guy named Robert Kiyosaki, and he has an interesting idea. He said what he classifies as an asset to him is something that makes him money every month. That's an asset. So he said if it's making me money, even at $1, I consider that an asset. He said if it's costing me money every month, it's a liability.
So my kid is a liability.
Well, the way he classified it like that. However, not everything is money. And so I thought about that too. As I was saying this, I'm like, I could classify my kids as liabilities because they're costing me money every month. However, the amount of happiness that I get from my kids is, I think worth more than the money I'm spending.
Wait, you can put your kid as a liability or?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, so the money I'm spending is worth less to me than the happiness I'm getting by having children in my family.
So then if you bought a bottle of soda and it makes you more happy than what you paid for it, then this bottle of soda you decided to buy is no longer a liability.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're right about that. So you're changing something of lesser value for higher value for you. So that's the owner's equity. The happiness is your owner's equity. So
Well, I actually get free soda when I'm on the job, so.
yeah, so here's one that say current assets. They will call assets something that you can turn into cash pretty quickly. So like cash is an asset. And the soda was an asset until you drank it. And then it just turned into happiness. So
Oh yeah, enjoy a 2-liter of Coca-Cola.
yeah, so here, this is a balance sheet. This is a really simple one. So here's like in 2018, they had $9,000 in cash at the end of the year. The accounts receivable meant that there was $53,000. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. There's $53,000 that people owe them. Inventory is your soda, $80,000 worth of soda. And then prepaid expenses, that means stuff that you've purchased but haven't used yet. Like maybe this is like insurance. Like, so my brother is a truck driver and me and my brothers are looking at buying him a truck. But one of the things to haul stuff, and one of the things that we have to look at is insurance. What the interesting thing about insurance is the insurance for the truck, if you pay for it up front, will cost you like $10,000 for a year. So this is the prepaid expense. So I'm spending $10,000 for or I can pay monthly. If I pay monthly, they are charging me,
Principal fee.
well, yeah, so let's just, for ease of sake, let's say they're paying, so they have me pay $1,000 a month. It's actually a little bit more than that. So they're charging me $1,800 a year if I want to pay monthly. So they're charging me like $150 a month to have me pay monthly. So I get to keep the cash if I want to, but so this is where, like, if I have a business credit card that I get or they have, no interest on for a year, then I put the money on that, and then I can save that 18% that they're charging me for paying monthly. So, but that's why they have prepaid expenses. This is usually like one of the things is. So here it shows current assets. So if you're looking at this, if you're looking at the balance sheet, it does not really tell you how healthy the company is, because our assets have gone down this year. But we have more cash. We have less receivables. We have less inventory. So this is just showing us assets. This does not tell us a whole lot about the business other than what our assets are. So then hopefully we do a liabilities thing. Oh, these are your assets that are held for longer. These are the ones that total fixed assets. So here's the depreciation I was talking about. So here's my, but it's, this is the depreciation. So it was worth 178,000, but they took 2,000 of it because, oh, there's more depreciation there. So this is things we can count as an expense. Intangible assets, interesting. I rolled. Oh, there's the goodwill, sorry. And then we've got accounts payable. This is money that we owe. Current portion. These are current liabilities. And when current liabilities means stuff that I need to pay off this year. And then they have long-term liabilities. So we've got mortgage, we've got notes payable. So maybe we loan somebody else money, mortgage on a building. So those are our long-term liabilities. So, and then this is.
So if you actually rent a little space for your business, you have to stay in business for that long, pay it off.
Well, rent is a different thing. Rent, you can just classify as an expense. It's if you buy it and you're paying a mortgage, then there's depreciation that goes along with that. Hopefully they don't even show us the whole thing. So here's an income statement. So here's the gross. So here's the revenue, 871,000, less sales returns and allowances. This is like discounts we got or stuff that came back that was broken. And then so the net sales was 860,000, and then cost of goods sold. So for us to sell all that stuff, it costs us 16,000, and this gives us gross profit. So that's the gross profit. So it's just showing what our cost of goods, but this doesn't tell us what our operating. So here are operating expenses: salaries, wages, advertising, insurance, property taxes, utilities, interest, depreciation, and supplies. So that costs us 319,000. Why don't they? that doesn't make any sense if they don't show it all together. Okay, here we go. Cash received from sales, paid for inventory, cash from operating expenses. So this is, here we go. This is the net cash provided by operating activities. I don't, can't they just show us all at once? So here's the current ratio, current assets versus current liabilities. Liquidity ratio. You know what, when they say a business is liquid, you know what liquid it means? Like it says liquidity ratios. When they say something is an asset is liquid. Or you'll see like companies going out of business, they say liquidation sale. Have you ever seen those signs? So liquidation means if it's liquid, it means you can turn it into cash easily. That's a liquid. Like property is not considered liquid because it takes a while to get the transaction done. But your bottles of soda, that's pretty liquid. Not just because it's liquid. But you can sell it pretty easily because people want soda.
So when someone says, I need to liquidate my 401k.
That means they want to get their money out of it.
Oh,
So yeah, when they say they want to liquidate their 401k, that means they want to take the money out of the bank, is what they're doing.
And doesn't that cost like interest and stuff?
Depends on, with a 401k, depends on when you take it out. If you're over 65, it doesn't really cost you anything. If you take it out before you're 65 or 62 or whatever it is, then they will charge you 25%. The government charges you 25%.
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just scary.
So yeah, they're trying to motivate you to keep that in there for a long time. Especially the financial institutions are the ones that help them do the laws so they can keep your money for longer because they like that kind of money.
So what if you want to buy your first house though?
That is a good question. You can actually use that as your first house. You can use that as a down payment out of your 401k, and they do not charge you the penalty for a certain amount. Yeah. Yep. So that's a good question. So here we've got inventory turnover. We've got all these ratios. So we've got total liabilities, owner equity. They've got these ratios that you can use to evaluate companies. And the reason they're using these ratios as a business investor, if you know a couple of these ratios, then you can quickly evaluate a company and whether you want to invest in them. So here's more ratios. So we've only got a couple of minutes here, but so every publicly traded company has a financial statement on the internet. So let's look at California Pizza Kitchen. Okay, so CPKI, California Pizza Kitchen, NASDAQ National Market. So it is a nationally traded company. So let's look, see what we've got. So the share price is at $15. It's got 5,000. This is old. So let's see if we can find, oh, these are for 2000. Let's,
Before tax
Rivian raises $12 billion in record-breaking IPO. Okay, so let's look at. It used to be Yahoo Finance, used to be finance. CPKI. Oh, CPK. No, that's right, CP. Oh, something happened. Chart, let's see. So California Pizza Kitchen, I think they were publicly traded at some point, but they're not publicly traded now because of the zero.
Interesting.
Well, I'm just going to type in who owns California Pizza Kitchen. Golden Gate Capital. Started in 1985. So here's history.
Did not know Maxfield had one.
Okay, so what happened in 2000, and this is why is there, so they went public in 2003 and then was acquired by this Golden Gate Capital. So Golden Gate Capital owns California Pizza Kitchen now. And so let's see. Let's look at Golden Gate Capital. They may be there. So you probably can't, it does say they have $19 billion in cumulative committed capital. So what they do is they buy companies like California Pizza Kitchen, they hold on to it for a while, and then they try to sell them. Either they take them public again, or that's what these types of companies do. I wanted to find, let's look at another company really quick that I know we've got financial stuff for. So we've got Apple. So publicly traded company, it shows that their stock is $153. Did they split or something? So I want to see what their 5-year, yeah, they split at some point because they were higher than this. So we've got their financial statements right here. You can look these up. So just like we were talking about before, we've got cost of revenue. So we've got total revenue shows, 2021, 2020, 2019. So you can see their revenue is going up. Cost of revenue. So this is where you could say revenue and your cost of revenue. You could do a ratio with that. Here we've got gross profit. See, it's interesting that the gross profit, well, it's gone up, it's gone way up this year. Wow. But it stayed flat for several years and now it's gone up.
Yeah.
So operating income, so we're trying to look to see if there's anything, tax provision. See, but the expensive have gone way up too. So we're looking down at,
Probably because of their creating of phones and all that kind of stuff.
so this is income before interest and taxes. Income before interest, taxes, and depreciation. So you can see that this is where your net income, like it is going up for this. So they're beating the expectations, and that's why their stock price is going up.
For what is this?
This is Apple.
Apple?
So you can look, so there's the income statement, it's got the balance sheet. So all the publicly traded companies have all of this, and so you can go out there and look, see. Yeah, so Denny's is probably on here. Well, Denny's may be like California Pizza Kitchen, may be owned by somebody else. But we're out of time for today. I don't want to keep everyone. I appreciate you. I mean, I kind of like talking about this stuff. It's kind of fun. It's interesting to talk about money. So thanks everyone for sticking around, and we will not see you next week
Oh, that's right.
because it's the day before Thanksgiving, but we will see you the week after that. So
I'm so excited.
yeah, enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Probably get to sleep in a little bit.
Deep
Yeah.
frying turkey this year.
Oh, if you ever
How
get
it
a
goes.
if you ever get a chance, deep fried turkey, you need to do it because it is